Welcome to the Theosophical Society in Atlanta. Our Sunday lectures feature a variety of topics in those areas related to the esoteric sciences. Let's take a moment and listen to this benediction. I breathe in the infinite light, which is God, truth, love. It is everywhere around me, both outside and within me. It dwells in my heart. My body is a temple of the living Spirit. I shall let the Spirit shine through my eyes, speak through my lips, be felt in my deeds. I send a thought of peace and love to all around me, to my family, to my friends, to those I love, to those I do not love, to every living being in this world and beyond. Our speaker today is Sherry Henderson, and she will be speaking on living a magical life. Sherry?
Thank you. Thank you.
Please welcome Sherry Henderson.
Thank you for coming here today to hear me speak. I know that some of you know me, but for those of you who don't know me, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm director of the Inner Space. I am the editor and publisher of Oracle 2020 magazine, and I brought some along with. They're on the table in the back. Feel free to pick them up. And I'm also the president of Atlantean Mystery Schools. So before we really get started with living a magical life, let's sort of look at some of the topics here that are of interest to all of you, and let's just ask a question: who considers themselves to be a mystic? Who among us? And I'm going to, and I will, and I will, and you don't really have to put your hands up, but you can if you wish. Who considers themselves to be a metaphysician? And who considers themselves to be a magician? So I looked up these words on Wikipedia because I think that's a pretty broad understanding of our society about definitions of words. So the short definition of mystic is one who strives for a union with the absolute. Mysticism usually centers on a practice or practices intended to nurture these experiences of awareness. Mysticism may be dualistic, maintaining a distinction between the self and the divine, or non-dualistic. Differing religious traditions have described the fundamental mystical experiences in different ways. Mysticism. So then we go to metaphysician or metaphysics. The word derives from the ancient Greek word meta, meaning beyond or after, and physic, meaning physical. Physical referring to those works on matter by Aristotle, the first known metaphysician in antiquity. The prefix meta, beyond, was attached to the chapters in Aristotle's work that physically followed after the chapters on physics in posthumously edited collections. Aristotle himself did not call these works metaphysics. Aristotle called some of the subjects treated there the first philosophy. So that's metaphysics or metaphysician. Magician. Now, I was really challenged with Wikipedia because they thought that a magician was a sleight of hand artist. And I just didn't find a suitable definition, so I went to a metaphysical site or a magical site, and I copied this definition, which I think is very good. Action, conscious awareness, concentration of power. Magic is the knowledge and application of spiritual energy with transforming effects on the material plane. So do you answer your questions differently now? When I ask, are you a mystic? Are you a metaphysician? Are you a magician? Do you answer yes to all three? because I believe that everyone here could probably answer yes to all three of those questions. The Zen proverb states, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Well, we'll see if at the end of the talk you agree with this totally, or if it seems to be just a little bit biased. So now that we've gone through these three definitions, how many of you see yourself as all three of these? Okay, very good. Let's have a little discussion about it at this point if we could. I'd like to ask someone in the audience, anybody who would like to answer, what is it that makes you feel that you are a metaphysician? Anyone want to answer that? Les, great.
Well, I have healing ability in my hands, and I do remote healing all the time. I have a website. I heal hundreds of people. There may be 100 to 200 people on my website at any time. So,
very good. Very good.
Definition.
So does that also define you as a magician as well?
Well, I guess. I don't. I
Okay.
am an exorcist.
Thank you.
That's a magician right there.
I'm sorry, say that again
I'm
for me.
an exorcist.
He's an exorcist, okay, and yes, that does make Les a magician.
That's a magician.
Absolutely. Okay, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Throughout my life, I've had occurrences where it was mystical, or it was like I was receiving a message, and it was then confirmed by another person because I was being channeled for a message. It was confirmed by other people that message meant something to them.
So what you're saying is that you have received a message that was from a mystical source,
Yes.
that was non-limiting in its scope, that had a connection with the divine, and that was confirmed later. Absolutely. So as a mystic, I think that qualifies very well. Okay, anyone else? Oh, come on, don't be shy. Tell me a little about yourself.
Psychic dreams.
Psychic dreams. I think psychic dreams are mystical experiences as well. Yes. Yes, sir. Let me walk around this way.
People say that what we call reality is an illusion. And in my own mind, I've discovered that this is not an illusion. This is not what the illusion is. This is real. It's my perception of it that's the illusion. And so that the fact that I know there's more here than what I'm touching and seeing makes me a metaphysician.
Absolutely. Very good. So I think you have some good ideas about what we're talking about here with metaphysical, with mystical, and with being a magician. So we're all magicians, whether we want to embrace the fact that we're magicians or whether we don't. Every day in every way, we create the reality that we live. So every thought is creating the reality in your world at every moment. And we're all here with the general consensus that we're in a building, we're in a group of people, we're having an experience that I'm speaking, you're listening, you're participating, and without any one of us, this could be happening on an alternate timeline or an alternate reality. Does anyone agree with that? Does that seem logical? Okay. So what about the influences of other people and the outside forces when you are creating your own reality? There are two forces that I want to talk about in this paradigm. There's the macrocosm and the microcosm. In the macrocosm, I sometimes call it an oversoul, or as Jung would call it, the collective unconscious. That's the mind of God is the way that I perceive it. And that's the mind of the all that is. Now, whether it is humanity, whether it's the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, or Mother Earth herself, this macrocosm is at work. And so we all live within the structure. However, in the microcosm, we all have free will. So if we want to create our own reality in free will, what is it that we need to do? Does anybody have an idea of the first thing that we need to do to create our own reality? aside from, yes, Arthur?
Choose.
Absolutely. Choice is the first step. And how do we know what to choose? How do we know if we're choosing the thing that will create? Does anybody have an idea about that? Yes.
We observe through our senses.
Okay. Arthur says we observe through our senses. That's one way that we choose. Anybody else have any ideas about how we choose? Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Through previous experiences.
Through previous experiences. Okay. Anyone else?
Thinking of the outcome.
Thinking of the outcome. Okay.
Desire is the energy that causes that.
Desire. Okay. Anyone else? How about the thing that gives you bliss? If you feel bliss, you follow that as your choice. Does that seem like a logical way to manifest things into the third dimensional earth plane reality? To be that magician? Choose your bliss. How many of you choose your bliss on a daily basis? I don't raise my hand. I don't choose my bliss on a daily basis. I'm guilty as charged.
Anybody who has to get up in the morning and go to work is not choosing their bliss.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is magic then? Obviously, our lives are not very magical at the point where we're getting up and we're going to a job that we don't want to go to, where we're exercising something we wish we didn't have to do. So is the chop wood, carry water, is that magical? Only if it brings us bliss. If you love to chop wood and carry water, then it's magical. If you don't love it, then it's probably not. It doesn't give you bliss. So in exercising magic, the first thing that we have to do is to break free from the collective unconscious. We have to break free from the limiting belief system of the world as it is. How do you do that? You know, you're beleaguered every day with television, with radio, with newspapers telling you what to think, how the world will be. And how many of you really believe what you hear on television? You don't have to have a show of hands on that one, because I think a lot of us don't believe any of it.
I don't watch television.
I don't watch television either, so I'm with you. Yes.
I don't read the newspaper.
Absolutely.
That makes it a lot easier.
Neither do I. That makes it a lot easier. Very good. A for the course. Do not watch the television programs that are limiting and that are troubling, and do not read news that brings you ill feelings, whether it's ill feelings about your own self, ill feelings about others in the world, or ill feelings about the condition of the world. And now, how do you do that? Yes, Arthur?
But the thing is, you can turn the TV off all you want, but once you get in your car and get on the highway, you deal with all kinds of toxic relationships just on the highway. You don't even talk to them. But by the time you get to work, you're already angry and frustrated. How do you escape stuff?
Okay. What Arthur says is, by the time you get on the highway, you're dealing with toxic relationships from the time you get on the highway until you reach your destination. And how do you deal with that? Well, the first thing you have to do in dealing with those toxic relationships on the highway is to change how you feel about them and change what you believe about them. If somebody cuts you off on the road and it doesn't bother you, and you can go for several days without it bothering you, then eventually you're going to get to the point where people don't cut you off on the road.
Just say bless them.
Yes, bless them and send them on their way. Say, oh my goodness, I hope they have a safe trip. And send them on their way. Now, is this airy-fairy? Absolutely not. This is based in hard science. This actually works. An experiment was done on this in my family, and it works very well. So we know that if you no longer buy into the emotions of others, then the emotions of others don't affect you. So what we're talking about now is breaking the bonds or breaking the boundaries of belief, breaking that limiting belief. It's what some spiritual practices call the ego. It's that thing that surrounds us that we use to define who we are. I am a fearful driver. I am late. I am in a hurry. I am this. I am that. Once you no longer use those definitions and you say, I am a child of the universe. I am a limitless individual connecting into the reality of billions of other limitless individuals. My feelings, my thoughts, my joy, and my bliss are working at this moment to change the reality of the macrocosm. My microcosm does not reflect that macrocosm. I'm working in such a way that I'm initiating change. So I'll give you a little bit of an idea about my own life, and I'll tell a story that some of you may have heard this story. I owned a hair salon. It was fairly successful, and I lived in a part of town that was sort of going downhill. The property wasn't appreciating. Well, I had this idea that I wanted a horse farm. As a fresh divorcee with absolutely no money in the bank, living in a part of town that the property values weren't on top of the world, how was I going to buy a horse farm in a very good section of town so that my children could attend a very good school? Well, I put some roadblocks in my own path because I thought that I had to get a real estate license, and I thought I had to do some things that I did do. However, in reality, the thing that created this reality for me, I believe, was my magical perception and my magical activities. What I did is every day I drew a picture of the house I wanted. And in the backyard of that house were horses. And not that I'm an artist by any means, but the fact of creation is so powerful when you use art and you combine it with your desire. My desire was there, and when I felt the bliss, the joy of the horse farm and the thinking of breaking free from being tied to appointments all day long, and the idea that I could spend my days with my children and ride horses and do what I wanted to do, I was putting that into this picture I was drawing. Actually, I live in that house, by the way, right now. And I never finished the picture, so the house is still a little unfinished here and there. I didn't draw the inside. So what I'm saying is that you are directly in charge of your reality. There are quite a few ways that you can do it, but what are the elements that are necessary for creation? First of all, you have to eliminate the limiting belief systems. Do away with the boundaries. This is what we call negation of the ego, that part of ourself that defines us in such a way that we are limited. For example, I'm a hairdresser, I'm a divorcee, I'm a single mother. How can I possibly buy an acreage in Alpharetta? This can't be done. If I bought into that, I would still be living in a 3-bedroom house where the property values have crashed. I didn't buy into it, but I didn't know the principles. I used them accidentally. And now, because you know the principles, you can use them purposefully and change anything in your life. So imagination, excitement, and elimination of the limiting belief. First of all, eliminate the limiting belief system. And how many of you define yourselves by what you do, by the work that you perform? There are many of us that have and that do. How many of us define ourselves by our gender or by, our race? Yes, Arthur, very good. Or by the part of town we live in, or the socioeconomic condition of our parents as we grew up. Many of us define ourselves. I'm blue collar. I'm working class. People like me don't achieve. People like me don't get an education. When we define ourselves with those limiting beliefs, we already buy into the limiting beliefs of the oversoul or of society. So the first thing to do is unplug. Unplug, what was the 60s? Unplug, drop out?
Tune in, turn on, drop out.
Tune in, turn on, drop out. So that's what I'm going to tell you as a child of the 60s. Tune in, turn on, and drop out. So imagination. The first thing after breaking your bonds is to imagine what you want. So I imagined that I wanted a horse farm in Alpharetta, which I got. And did I get it because of hard work? Probably not. I could probably have just stood behind the chair in the salon and still gotten that, because the things that I did were so synchronistic, though, that I paid attention to the synchronicities. And I found myself exactly where I wanted to be. And this is the key. Once you turn off those limiting belief systems, once you no longer define yourself as a member of a group or as a person who can't succeed, then yes, you can make those choices. Because as a single mom, working class person, I just couldn't imagine myself moving up to Alpharetta and having an acreage with horses. However, as a young Turk who felt that she had the world on a string, I could do anything I wanted. So that was the point I came to. And fortunately for me, I did have some hypnotherapy coaches during that time who weren't really quite far off from mainstream, but they did help to get me in touch with how to meditate and how to get in touch with that unconscious part of my mind. So if you don't know what you want, if you haven't defined what your choices are, maybe a meditation would be a good way to come up with those ideas. And we will, if we have time at the end of this presentation, we'll do a meditation. So imagine what you want and let your imagination be boundless. You don't have to limit yourself. There are no limits in this universe. So what are some of the things that people here would like to have that they feel that have been out of their grasp for some reason? Or what are some of the things that you've accomplished that you thought were out of your grasp that you then accomplished? Anybody? Anybody want? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I retired early at age 55, which prior to that I didn't think I could do it.
Okay, tell us your name.
Oh, it's Ruth Ann.
Ruth Ann retired at age 55, and she didn't think she could. But she let go of the limiting belief that she had to work until she was 65, and she envisioned what she wanted to create, and she created retirement. And were you blissful and enthusiastic about that also, Ruth Ann?
Yes. I'm still in bliss.
So, and as long as you stay in bliss, you will stay retired. That's a part of this presentation as well. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Give us your name, please.
Frank Brown.
Okay.
Frank.
Okay. I'm going to pull this up a little. Okay, Frank Brown.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to Portland last week for 10 days, and there was no way I could possibly get the money together to do it. So I turned it over to the universe and said, if you really want this to happen, and I really want this to happen, you have to manifest the money. And the money manifested in ways that I definitely didn't think were possible. So it was a happy occurrence.
Very synchronistic, right?
Very.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else have a story they'd like to share? Yes, ma'am. Ruth Ann.
I'm a member of a group that had a difficult person associated with the group, and just by envisioning what the group could be in all of its positive aspects, that person subsequently left.
Okay. And what Ruth Ann said is that there was a difficult member of a group that she was associated with, and the group visualized what it could be, and just through the visualization, the difficult person left. And you will find that happens. Sometimes people that you don't want to leave your life will, because they're no longer resonating to the same vibration that you're resonating to. So if you find that family members visit you less frequently, or if you find that there are situations where friends don't call anymore, you might find that you're resonating to a higher frequency. So when you're living in bliss, and you're living in creation, and you're living in imagination, and you're living without boundaries and without limits, you might find that some of your friends and some family members aren't real comfortable with that. And that does happen to us, and you just have to send them love and say, okay, I understand that you aren't calling me much anymore, and I understand that I'm not seeing much of you anymore, but I still love you. And go on. Send them love and be with it. Because just like that member of your group left, the group was no longer resonating at that frequency. So one of the things I notice in my own business is that when my frequency changes, that frequently staff members will change. So how many of you have noticed that in your lives? Yes, a lot of you have noticed that. People will change. So as magicians, I believe that you all are. Whether you're manifesting things that you wish for or things that you don't wish for, you are magicians. So as we travel down the road and those angry people come up and they vie for our position on the road, or they don't let us off at our exit, we're manifesting that through our negative expectations. So in a tarot reading, there are several positions, and the next to the last position is one I use for unconscious negative expectations. So when that card comes up, it shows me what the person isn't actually thinking consciously, but it's what they're creating in their reality, whether they really want it in their reality or not. It's that unconscious creation. So as we tap into that oversoul of the unconscious creation, we tap into something that we don't want, even though we don't know that it's there. How many times have you been late, you can't find your car keys, or you or you can't find your pocketbook, and you're running around the house like a crazy person, and you know you're going to be late, and you think, oh my God, I don't want to be late. So what you're doing is manifesting late, because the universe doesn't understand the negative. So it's hearing, I want to be late. So when you're doing this, and when you're in that hurry, and when you get really overwrought about it, you're actually creating energy whereby you are manifesting being late for yourself. Now, let's just assume that you move back and you say, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath, I'm going to call my friend, and I'm going to let them know that I'm running a little bit late. Strangely, those car keys or that pocketbook or that jacket will appear. How many of you have ever had that situation? That is unconscious creation. So through the unconscious creation, we're doing it every day. I notice that any time I am not in bliss and not in joy with what I'm doing in my business doesn't do as well. I notice that at any time I am not in bliss and not in joy with my family, we are not doing really well. At any time that I'm worried about someone, then usually I will get a reason to worry. Yeah, it will manifest for you. Yes, Arthur?
In your natal chart, could unconscious negative creation be the squares in your chart?
Unconscious creations are not the squares. Those are the more conscious creations.
But you don't see it coming.
It could be, yeah. Often you don't see the squares coming, but that's probably... how many of you are astrologers in here? Okay, we have quite a few. So what do you think about that? Do you think the squares in your natal chart are the unconscious creations, or are they more conscious?
But the question is, can you use the same technique?
Oh, absolutely.
Handle your squares?
Absolutely. You can use the same technique to handle your squares, is the question that Arthur has. Yes, anything that you are conscious of, you can change. That's what being a magician is all about. Because when you find yourself worrying about, oh my goodness, my daughter is bringing home C's, and I don't know about this crowd she's running with, and I don't know about this new boyfriend, then what do you get more of? You get more poor grades. You get more crowd that you have to worry about. Once you get into a position where you are okay, which is very difficult. How many of you are parents? Yeah, there's quite a few parents in here. That's a little difficult. When you say, I can't worry about that child is a conscious creator as well as I am a conscious creator. You send that child love. You send that crazy crowd love. You send that offbeat boyfriend love. You send those teachers love. And you send that conscious creation out into the universe that you are believing, belief again, you are believing in the best. You are allowing for the best of all possible outcomes, because you don't know but what that daughter will drop out of school, run away from home, and turn out to join some sort of wonderful group that will teach her all kinds of wonderful things that she will use in her life. It's not ours to decide. That's the hardest part. How many of us are control freaks? Raise your hand. Everybody in here. So we want to control those things. We want to control everything in our lives. And we do through the use of magic. How do we do it through the use of magic? We do it through a conscious creation of the things that we want. So you don't have to be a control freak with conscious creation because the universe takes care of it for you. Conscious creation is the same as electricity coming to your toaster. Unconscious creation is the same thing as grabbing that wire while it's plugged in, not to the toaster, and getting an electrical shock. The electricity's there no matter what. That's the energy. We're going to have creation, whether it's conscious or whether it's unconscious. Whatever we feel we want to create, we can. We just need to apply bliss and joy and remove limitation. So I have a story also, but I want to talk a little about ritual. That's the reason for ritual. The original reason for ritual is so that people can create. And how is it that people create through the use of ritual? Does anybody have any input on that? What do you think? Anybody? What is it that causes ritual to be so powerful? Yes, ma'am. What is your name? Unique. And Unique says it's timing and consistency, and that's part of it.
I think it's intention.
Intention, okay? That's another part of it. Intention is very important, by the way. Anyone else? Yes?
I think it's you're carrying something forward from past generations.
Carrying something forward from past generations, maybe connecting to an oversoul, a powerful oversoul, yes.
Or traditions.
Traditions, yes.
Expectations.
Expectation is a little bit different, and I'll get into expectations just in a minute, because expectations are the things that can bite us if we're not real careful. So with ritual, the reason behind ritual is so that we can form a sacred space, remove the boundaries, because in ritual, the first thing we do is we connect with the divine, we come into the mystical perspective, and we are limitless in the ritual circle because we are no longer just us. We are a part of the all that is, a part of the ancestors, a part of all those who have done that ritual before. We raise the energy. We get excited. We plant an intention. We create an atmosphere of sanctity. And if it's done properly, rituals will work every time, especially if they're done in groups. Many times we do rituals alone, and there are all kinds of rituals, obviously, but some of the rituals that we do, we will do in a group, and I think that the power of the group is exponentially stronger than the power of the one. It even says in the Bible, where two of you or more are gathered together, there I am also. So what we're doing is we're tapping into that consciousness of the all that is. Once we tap into the group energy, we're doing our expectation. And if we have our expectation open without an end to the expectation, an open-ended expectation, then we're good. If we put a closed-end expectation, this is exactly how this is going to turn out and I will have it no other way. Let's see, I'm going to have the house at 421 and I'm going to have no other house. That's going to be my house and no other house will do. You send that out to the universe, the house at 421 has been occupied by the same people for 20 years and they're not going to move. Or the house at 421 is double the price of anything else on the street. Let's say the house at 422 comes up. It's identical. It has the same floor plan. So if you put an open-ended expectation without an end result, I will have the house that I wish for. This is my floor plan. Maybe not the exact house. And we see that often in psychic readings. Yes, Arthur?
But is that a contradiction to the first story that you said in which you made a picture of your house?
I drew a picture, but I didn't give it an address. I wanted a house that looked like this. It's not exact, but it's pretty close.
So you left a little bit open.
I left an open end, yeah. I didn't have to have that house on a certain piece of land. It could be anywhere. Didn't matter. I kind of wanted it in Alpharetta because it was horse country. So my open-ended expectation paid off. So one of the things that we run into in psychic readings is that someone will come in and they say, you know, he is the only one for me. There is nobody else. Or she is the only one for me. There is nobody else. I will accept nobody else. If I can't have this person, I'll have no one. What usually happens? No one. No one. So that's a closed-end expectation. So you've put a direction on it. The other thing is that it's not our business how the universe delivers our product. You know, some of the most uncomfortable things that have ever happened to me in my life have delivered the most fantastic end result. So does anybody ever have an uncomfortable journey about how the universe brings it to you? Yeah. Anybody want to share that? Yes, ma'am. Give me your name, please.
I'm Faye, F-A-Y-E. I was removed from a job at age 63 and a half, and at the time, I just believed that I couldn't ever get another job. And it was quite terrifying. New leadership came in, and the powerful new leadership wanted their own people. Okay, but I couldn't see it that way then. I was just so hurt. So it took me 7 months to land another job, which turned out to be so much better. I make more money. I have more freedom. It's just like, it's my miracle.
So what Faye said is that she was holding on to a job that wasn't maybe the best job for her. And she was distraught when it came to an end when she was 63 and a half. And yet she ended up within a few months with a much better job, much better pay, and in a much better situation. So, yeah, I think we've all had stories like that, haven't we? You know, and there's an old country song that says, thank God for unspoken prayers. Does anybody in here ever listen to country music? Unanswered prayers, yeah, unanswered prayers. So there are so many of those things that happen to us that we're like, oh, but I want a good job, I want this, I want that, and yet they hold on to their own old way of doing things. So being in the magic is being in that unlimited potentiality, that place where you can imagine that things can be better somewhere else, or they can be better in a different situation, or that it doesn't matter what you do, you are taken care of and you are in your best possible situation. So I like to tell stories, and so I've got several. So I'm going to go back to my ritual here, and I want to talk a little bit about doing ritual and why rituals sometimes don't work. Has anybody done ritual that didn't work? Oh, yeah. I see people laughing and nodding their head. People forget the purpose for ritual sometimes, and I think that happens very often in mainstream and in some of our rituals that we participate in. In our prayers, we forget to pray a prayer of thanksgiving, of giving thanks for the bounty of the all that is, and thanks for all the things that are coming our way and all the good. And we give a God gimme prayer. Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? So you know, really, when we come down to it, it's the idea. Don't think of prayer as a way to get stuff. Think of prayer as a way to be grateful. Think of visualization as a way to bring you bliss, not stuff. So whatever the bliss is, if the stuff comes along with it, that's great. But sometimes stuff and bliss aren't always in the same package. I bet several of you have had that experience. I know I have. Stuff and bliss, not necessarily the same thing. So in ritual, I have an example of a ritual that is really about dead ritual. And it's about the Thanksgiving turkey. Arthur's heard this one. I think I told it just last week in class.
Used in my son's school last week.
Good. So there was a family that gathered together every Thanksgiving. And the little girl had turned 11, and she was just starting to ask questions. And she went to her mother, and she says, Mom, why do we cut the turkey in half and bake half of it at a time? The mom says, well, I don't know. Our family's just always done that. Maybe you should go ask your grandmother why we do it that way. So then the little girl goes in and she asks her grandmother, "Grandmother, why do we cut the turkey in half on Thanksgiving and bake half of it at a time?" Grandmother says, "We've just always done it that way. I don't know why we do it." So then the grandmother says, "Maybe you should just ask your great-grandmother. She'll be over from the retirement home soon, and you can ask her." So the little girl paced around all afternoon wondering about why they did it that way. Great-grandmother shows up, and the little girl's so excited. She says, "Great-grandmother, why do we bake the Christmas turkey half at a time? Why do we cut it in half when other families bake it all at one time?" The great-grandmother looked at her. She says, "I don't know why the rest of you do it that way, but my oven was small." So when we do ritual and we've forgotten the meaning, it's like baking half the turkey at a time. We've forgotten why we do it. There's no purpose behind it. There's no joy in it. There's no bliss in it. So it's empty, meaningless ritual. And empty, meaningless ritual brings what?
Empty meaninglessness.
Yes, very good. Empty meaninglessness. It brings nothing. So once you put the life into it, once the group or the individual imbues it with joy and with bliss, once you remove the boundaries from it, once you put your imagination to it, then the manifesting takes place. That's where the magic is. That's where the magic is in life. And if you think about those elements, what is it that makes people happy? It's tapping into imagination. It's tapping into bliss. It's removing boundaries. Once you can do those things, then you have the key to be the magician. You are the magician. Okay? Yes, Arthur.
Can you define what bliss is?
Bliss. Let me ask the crowd for a definition of bliss. Anybody have a definition of bliss? Okay, Brian first.
Joy derived from the soul, the self, and not from the senses.
Excellent. David?
There are some physiological aspects to it. One of them, with the brain, it's they even call it it's a new term, supersynchronous theta spindles in the frontal brain on humans. In cats, when they are in bliss on your lap and whatnot, they're purring. It's in the medulla oblongata, the old part of the brain, to us. To the cats, it's in the back of the brain. To the humans, it's the new brain in the front. Bliss is also associated in the Vedas with the creation of soma in the physiology, in the digestive tract, and it's the absence of stress and the problems, all that it entails is called stress, fatigue, and all that kind of stuff. You're getting past, you're transcending the world and the stress of the world, and you're going to that area, even when you transcend, to an area that right before the transcendence is called Ananda. It's pure bliss.
Okay, so to put it simply, what David says is it's the removal of stress is bliss. Does anybody else have a different definition? Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say
Living momentarily in pleasure. That can be bliss as well. Anyone else?
Sherry, can you look and talk into your...
Sure. Yeah.
Today, for my my Sunday school lesson, I had to find the Merriam-Webster Dictionary of Joy, which is a sense of well-being.
Very good. Very good. A sense of well-being. Anyone else? Okay,
I like
Brian.
to say, absence of stress is an effect of bliss. It isn't bliss itself. Bliss is a positive experience.
Right.
The negation of stress, that's an effect, as a neural phenomenon. It's an effect of it. Bliss does not come from the neural.
Talk to me.
Bliss does not come from the brain. The effects of it, the effects may affect the brain, but it's coming from God within.
So in order to be living a magical life, then what we need to do is to first of all be a mystic. Is that right? What we need to do second of all is to be a metaphysician. And thirdly, we become magicians. Okay? Anyone have any questions? Let me read that for you exactly as it was in Wikipedia. In Wikipedia, metaphysician, the word derives from the Greek words met, meaning beyond or after, and physic, meaning physical, referring to those works or matters by Aristotle, first known metaphysician in antiquity. The prefix meta, beyond, was attached to the chapters of Aristotle's work that physically followed the chapters on physics in posthumously edited collections. Aristotle himself did not call these words metaphysics. Aristotle called some of the subjects treated there the first philosophy. So it's beyond the physical. Beyond the physical would be metaphysical. Beyond or past the physical is metaphysical. And just your presence here indicates that you're all metaphysicians. So I think that's pretty well goes without saying. Okay, so everyone here agrees that they're magicians? Is that right? So now everyone can agree that we're all magicians, that everyone in the world is a magician, whether it's in conscious creating or unconscious creating, and what we want to do is the conscious creation. How many of you would like to have a meditation to set up a creation experience for yourselves and a state of bliss? Does that sound good? Okay. All right. Well, let's do a meditation. So I'll just ask everyone to relax. So just find a peaceful place in the center of yourself and relax. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. If you have papers on your lap or anything in your hands, you may want to put them on the floor. And just breathe in to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold it to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And hold it. Repeat this process, breathing deep, deep into the soul of your being, breathing all the way down into the bottom of your belly, pushing your stomach out, and feeling the energy permeate every cell of your being. And as you begin to gradually relax, allow a feeling of bliss to begin to permeate the cells of your body. That feeling of joy, of freedom, of complete happiness, of non-attachment. Allow yourself to relax completely. Just completely relax. Just completely relax. And feel the energy begin to flow from the bottoms of your feet, up across your ankles, up through your calves and shins, up across your knees and your thighs, and on up across your hips and into your torso. Feel that relaxing energy spreading up across your shoulders and down your arms, up the back of your neck and down across your face. Feeling the energy flowing all the way out through your fingers and your toes, and feeling as a vessel filled with bliss, joy, relaxation, peace, contentment. And know that you are limitless. All boundaries dissolve. You are one with the all, with the universe. You are at one with the all that is. All of your worries and cares drain right on out. Everything that you've held is moving out of your being, and you can come back and get that at any time you wish. But for now, It's draining right on out of your body, right on out of your consciousness, right on out. And as you continue to relax and breathe deeply, you find that you are tapping into a part of yourself that is at one with the divine. That part of yourself that is at one with all other beings and with the all that is. And as you feel peace and love and joy radiating out from that point of your being, you feel peace, love, and joy coming back into you from the all that is and from every being on every level of consciousness throughout the universe. And now that you're relaxed and you're feeling a sense of ease, let your imagination come to a point of something in your life which you desire to achieve, whether it's material or whether it's spiritual. Just allow that imagination for a few moments. And we all support one another with our dream, with our imagination. We all come together as one being of light to manifest that dream, that imagination, that limitless, boundless potentiality that each of us desires. And just be with it and breathe in with it. And know that it is yours. Just be with it and breathe in with it. And know that the universe has no other responsibility than to bring your desire to you that you ask for, that you send out. It is yours already, manifesting into the third dimension, earth plane. All that you wish, all that you desire is yours in joy and in bliss. The manifestation comes to you in a way that is gentle, in a way that is peaceful, and in a way that is fulfilling for you, in a way that is helpful for all beings that share this earth plane with you. Be with your creation. And now that you have focused on what you desire, gradually begin to come back into this room, gently. I'll count backward from 10 to 1, and when I reach 1, you'll be wide awake and feeling wonderful. 10, coming back into consciousness. 9, you're feeling wonderful. 8, you know that you are connected with the universe and the all that is. 7, feeling assured that you're manifesting and that your magic is working. 6, feeling a tingling glow in your body and knowing that you are in perfect health. 5, feeling more aware. 4, coming back into this room. 3, moving around slightly in your chair if you need to. 2, open your eyes, and 1, wide awake. Okay. Take just a moment. I hope everybody enjoyed that. That's my drug of choice, actually, is meditation. Thanks. So anyone want to make a comment on anything? Yes, David.
I just had a memory that one of the bliss is actually remembering your essential nature, which is bliss.
Wow, very good. Bliss is remembering your essential nature, which is bliss. Anyone else have a comment or question? Anybody else? Brian.
Bliss is an effect of realizing the nature of God.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Well, does bliss seem to
You
you
come
to
up
be in the present moment, or not in the past or in the future? Does it have to be here now?
The question is, does bliss have to be in the here and now? That's all we have. We don't have the past. We don't have the future. There's nothing but now. There are many potentialities, and there are many things that we have experienced. However, all we have is now. So bliss in the now. Yes, ma'am.
Sherry, we need to do some administrative stuff, so what we'll do is we'll have you come
Okay.
back up for more questions.
Okay.
In a couple of minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
Let's give her a hand.
Thanks. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Or are we pretty good here now? Anybody else? I think we are. How about you? Did you have something to say?
What are your thoughts, being either of those, what are your thoughts on, like, I won't want to say, but what are your thoughts as far as, like, death, or, like, coming to your end, you know, or, like, what are the thoughts people...
Okay. The question is, what are my thoughts on death? And I say death, there's really no such thing as death. Death is just a change of physical status. Yes, sir. Okay. So we have 5 minutes. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
You know, actually, that door is death. You open up the door, walk through the door, close the door behind you, and you're in a new world.
Yeah.
That's basically what death is.
Okay. Arthur says that the door is death. Just walking through any door is death. You're making a change. You're making a transition. You're closing what was in the past, and I think that's true. But I think of death as just a temporary sort of separation from those that you love here on the earth plane. If you choose separation, and if they choose separation, you don't have to have separation. But for many, it is. All in all, I don't think that there's much difference in death than there is in life. So I think it's just a shedding of the body, much like you trade in an old car. If the old car doesn't work anymore, trade it in. Or if it gets too injured in an accident, you get a new one. So that's my philosophy on death. So,
And the driver goes on.
And the driver goes on, yeah, exactly. Well, it's sort of like the Theosophical Society moved, right? The Theosophical Society was on Johnson Ferry for quite some time. The Theosophical Society moved over here to Carpenter Drive. Did the Theosophical Society die because they no longer inhabited the building over there? Absolutely not. The Theosophical Society goes on and is well. And it's just a change of attitude. It's a change of location, so to speak, is the way that I perceive it to be. So I think that's the best thing I can say. A family doesn't die because they change houses or they move out of one house or into another house. The family goes on. So anyone else? Any other comments? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here today.